Hello there, and welcome to the Property Management Podcast with That Property Mum. I'm your host, Kylie Walker, and thank you so much for joining me today. Now, we have a big episode, and I'm going to encourage you to get rid of your distractions and strap yourselves in. You're probably going to want to take some notes too, because if your rent roll growth is stagnant and you're feeling overwhelmed and stuck and not sure what to do to win new business, then take a listen to my guest today. Deniz Yusuf is one of the most prominent property management coaches in the industry. Through his business inspired growth training, he offers a myriad of coaching courses, books, and mentoring programs. And they are only too happy to share their secrets to property management growth. Thank you for joining me on the Property Management Podcast. Deniz, I'm super excited to have one of the legends of the industry, especially the coaching business, here with me today. Now, I haven't had the pleasure of speaking with you in person yet, so I'm super grateful that you have come on. But before we dive in, can you just let us know a little bit about yourselves and how you got started in the coaching and training industry business for any of those people living under rocks who may not know you guys yet?
Thanks, Kylie. Yeah, we've been chatting since like the original COVID lockdown. You were stuck in Sydney, I was stuck in the Shoalhaven of New South Wales. We both couldn't get back to Queensland. And we've tried organising a meeting, but it's never happened. So it's good that we've got this going. Thanks for having me. So I fell into coaching, just like I did falling into real estate. And as probably 85 to 90% of the people that are in real estate fell into real estate as well. It was never a plan of mine. I'm not sure. Did you plan to go into real estate? Was that something that when you're at school, you went, I want to go into real estate?
No, definitely not at all. Absolutely fell into it, 100%.
Yeah, as I did. I was, sold a fruit and vegetable business, applied for a property, ended up being the leasing agent, moved into BDM, did really well at it, listed 900 plus properties in 4 years, and thought, wow, if a Fruito can do this, I need to start training people, because I got sick and tired of everyone ringing me. What are you doing? So I started BDM Coach back in 2013. So I've been training. My anniversary is very, very close, actually, that's coming up, because it was in April and May 2013. And now I've got 2 directors. We train in 12 countries. We travel around to 5 countries around the world, teaching people how to grow their businesses. But it's not just about growth. It's also about putting the right systems and procedures and mental health is a big thing, especially in the last couple of years. As you know, the resilience of property managers is unbelievable. But there's myself, Darren Hunter, and Michael Sands, that we are Inspired Growth Training.
That is a perfect segue into my next question. It seems like you guys are a bit of a dream team at Inspired Growth Training, and you each have your own sort of forte or speciality, and that really complements what you guys are doing in the training and coaching side of things.
Yeah, it does. And it's nice to hear that that's recognised. We don't try and tread on each other's toes. We really do have our own unique specialties. Michael is also a growth coach alongside myself. He had 650 properties in 4 years, starting from zero, property management only. And he had 1.5 staff as well, so he knows the right systems and procedures, and Darren obviously himself is probably one of the most sought after trainers in Australia. He's been well known for years. I used to attend his training, and now he's my business partner. And it's really funny because I used to train Michael, so between the 3 of us, it's great. We cover running businesses, owning them, streamlining them, growth, social media. Michael, at the moment, he couldn't make this podcast because he's actually at Social Media Marketing World. We have coaches, so he's actually over there learning about as much as he can, so we can on-teach that.
Yeah. So for so long now, we've actually complained, or lots of people, we've whinged that there's that lack of support and training and coaching in property management.
Mhm.
And then you guys sort of came along, and you were very early adopters of the training and coaching and mentoring, I guess,
Mm.
in this industry. So, what are some of the benefits to coaching, and yours in particular?
Yeah, mentoring, I've got to say, is possibly my favorite thing. It's the hardest as well. It's the toughest, but it's probably one of the specialties that's not spoken of enough. We all know mental health is obviously something that's really tough. As much as you're a coach and a mentor, and a coach and a consultant, and you're teaching people how to grow their business or whatever, it's that those calls after hours sometimes that help people. There's so many people when they're having their issues, they don't know who to call, or they're in a rut and they don't know what to do. And so, when you're coaching them and you're in regular communication with them, that they're doing things tough at home or in the workplace or whatever. So those constant messages to those people and saying, let's say I was mentoring you, Kylie, and I know that you've got a tough week ahead. I'm going to send you a text after a couple of days. Hey, Kylie, how you going? Hope you're doing well. So you all of a sudden feel, wow, there's someone there that's watching over me and helping. That's a benefit to you, right? Because you're going through something personally. Because I know that from a coach's point of view, if I can, make sure that things are okay in the best possible way in your work environment, culture, whatever it is, or at home, then you're going to perform better and you're going to feel better about yourself as well. To me, I'd rather see people happy than get extra listings.
Absolutely. So your coaching method, I guess, is what you're saying is a very personal approach. It's not a cookie cutter. It's not one way suits all different people. It's very much up. You stream you take on board what the actual client needs.
Absolutely. It's like we come on board as a business partner. Every single business is different. Every single person is different. It's like every landlord. There's no one presentation. You've got to adapt to so many different variables. So that personal approach to me is the most successful. Yes, there's a system that we have in place, right? It's like there's different real estate offices, but they all are different in different states, different territories, different countries. So the personal approach to me is something that I love. I saw an article, the book cover of the Elite magazine, and it talks about, I saw the front cover, it said TikTok, and it had video messages. I've been training about video messages since you were capable of sending a video message. So it's great that finally all these other avenues and trainers are coming on board saying video messages because it's a personal touch. Video is personal. This is personal. We're doing a video recording as well as a podcast recording, right? Because people like to watch people. And if you can have that personal approach with your clients, you're going to get a lot more success as well. So I do that with my clients.
Brilliant. So, what are some of the most memorable transformations that you've achieved for some of your clients? And it's not just the businesses that you transform, like you were saying, it's the people's lives too. And I think for me personally, that is one of the best parts of working in this space. Yes, you give business
Mm.
and strategy advice, but it's the personal achievements and the changes that you see in people that I really think make this rewarding.
Oh, massive. There's nothing better than someone ringing you up or sending you a text saying thank you. It's not about an award they've won. It's not about something that they've achieved well in the workplace, but it's just that thank you. You know, sadly, I've had people wanting to quit their jobs, and they've been in suicidal positions as well. But the biggest reward I had was actually receiving a message from a lady that I hadn't spoken to in about 9 months. She'd left the industry, and she said, "Dennis, I was on the hospital. I tried to take my own life, but all I could think of was you telling me you can do this, you can achieve this. I see so much in you. You're a natural at the game." She said, "I just felt like you were on my shoulder telling me not to do it." She rang me up and I was crying. I was crying. So I wasn't even coaching her, but it was just stuff you don't realize that some things that you do say can actually help people in their deepest and darkest moments. We don't know what people are going through, so always be mindful of what you're saying. So that to me was the most touching. being invited to people's 40th birthdays, 30th birthdays, and stuff like that aren't in the industry anymore, it's very touching as well. You know, invited to christenings, birthdays, like their kids' birthdays. That's pretty special. You know, you're touching people's lives, and influencing them. I've got a lady. She left the industry and she's working in the plumbing industry. She uses the strategies for real estate growth in her dad's plumbing business. I've got a builder in Perth doing the same thing. So it's just all these nice little things that those personal touches from people is rewarding.
And what about some tangible results? What are some of the transformations that you've seen, either business owners or BDMs? I think I saw something on one of your social medias recently. A lady shared her success. I think she won an award for best BDM in her state or something like that. So, yeah, share,
Yeah.
share some
Okay.
of those results with us.
Yeah. There's a few. So I'm not a. I appreciate that people post, "Wow, Dennis, thank you for pushing us to win this," but in the end, they do the work. We're just the guides. So it's nice to be recognised, but I don't like putting on social media that, wow, this is Sarah who I train, and you're talking about Sarah. This is Sarah who I train. I wouldn't have done this without you, Dennis. I appreciate that, but you'll never see me post, I train Sarah. Sarah's the best, because I feel like we're just like the guide at the 10-pin bowling alley with the rubbers as coaches, and they've still got to pick the ball up. They've still got to have the focus. They've still got to put in the yards. So, as an example, Sarah, she's quite new to BDMing. She's listed over 260 properties in 12 months, which is massive numbers. And she didn't want to pick up the phone, didn't want to do anything, but I had her doing those 200 calls a week. I've got another client by the name of Shoshana. She's a raving fan of ours, and I love coaching her. Was listing 2 to 5 properties a month, and now she's listing over 20 properties a month. So again, it comes back to the push, the shove, and that mentor that comes inside of it as well. So she's got some great stories. You may also be talking about Mel, who won an award with the First National Group in Sydney. I didn't even know she was up for an award, and I get a message at 11 o'clock at night. So, and it's lovely, and I love them sharing their wins, because when you're in real estate, as you know, Kylie, you can't tap on your neighbour's real estate office and say, "Hey, I listed 20 properties. How are you going?" Because they just get cranky at you. So it's nice that the real estate industry is coming together and they can share their wins. That's what I love doing, is getting people to share their wins.
So, what would you say to somebody who is considering whether or not they need a coach, whether that will actually really help them? I know I wish I had have had coaching back in the early days when I was
Mm,
floundering around starting my business. There wasn't a lot of coaches around. There was a lot of legislation coaches around,
mm,
but there wasn't a lot of growth coaches or even property management coaches talking about time management or other skill development, negotiation, and dispute skills.
yep.
What would you say to somebody who's sitting on the fence thinking, will this work for me? Won't it work for me? Do I need it?
Yeah, great question. Now, I'm going to put this into the scenario of your family, because your son is doing really well in football. Okay. Okay. So now, how many your son is one of the best players in Australia. Let's be honest. It's like 1% make the top league in Australian rugby league, right? Now, how many coaches has he got?
At the moment,
Yeah,
I would say it would be maybe a dozen
a dozen,
for
and they're
different things.
calling
Yeah.
him, they're pushing him, this, that, and the other, and he's already the best in his field. So why would someone not want to look at having it? And he's the best in his field because he wants to continue improving. Now, someone who's new to the industry, of course, the best of the best are still having coaches. We have about 6 coaches amongst IUT, the 3 coaches that we are, and we've got other coaches. So if you are looking at it and you want to really make a career of it, get a coach, because the best still have coaches. I too would have loved to have a coach. in my game. I only can imagine how many I could have listed if I was pushed. Being self motivated helps. But yes, get a coach because it's more about that guidance, support, motivation, and help. It's not necessarily about a kick in the backside. We
It's
need
also
more support.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you there, but it's I totally agree with all of that. But it's also, do you think about celebrating those wins as well? It can be quite lonely sometimes when
Mm.
you're a BDM because you're not actually quite part of the property management team and you're not quite part of the sales team. So it's nice to have somebody that you can celebrate those wins with as well.
Huge that the property managers don't like BDMs because they're creating more work for them. It is the celebration of wins is really important. Set mini goals. I got a client in New Zealand. Every 10 properties they list, they go and buy a record for themselves, a vinyl, because that's a win. That's like a little mini goal we put in place. And when they get to 50, they're going away for the weekend with their wife. Having these little celebrations. Every time I walked into the office and I'd go, hey, I listed another one, I'd get moans from the property managers. It is a very lonely job, you're right. So it is really important to have that person that you can high five and celebrate with.
So, what is some of the best advice you'd give somebody struggling with growth right now? Or do you have any actionable steps that they
Yep.
can take away as soon as they pull their earbuds out from listening to this episode? What can somebody do to start moving the growth needle in the right direction for them?
Yeah, stop. Like seriously, just stop everything that you're doing and just strip back. Think if you were starting your job on the day, because what can happen, you can get bombarded with distractions, all of the emails coming through, complaints, whatever it is. Just stop and think when you first started in real estate, what was the first 5 things that you did for your growth strategies? And it could have been, okay, I just picked up the phone and started calling current clients and started connecting with people, blocking some times and non-negotiables. I'm doing this with an agency in South Australia at the moment. They're feeling a little bit bombarded. So I've just stripped everything back, taken all the responsibilities away, and we've just blocked an hour away for current client calls, just to get the basics right. An hour away for social media, an hour for calling some private owners, an hour in networking, and we've just stripped the job back, get back to the basics and get those flows happening. I've got to say, they've got to be self development's really important, even if it's just reading a podcast, going and grabbing a coffee, and just stripping back. Getting back to those basics. I do the same thing. We all get bombarded in life, so I'll switch off for a period of time, and then I go back to basics. So I start calling my current clients to get those happy calls happening. Get yourself motivated again.
That is absolutely great advice there. And speaking of personal development, what is one thing that you could share with our listeners that will help them, either a book or a podcast or an action item?
Um, I purchased the Shane Warne book. Obviously, with the sad passing of Shane Warne, I thought I'm going to get back and read that book again. It doesn't have to be industry related. There's so many podcasts for real estate. I mean, Inspired Growth Training, we've got 6 channels for people to listen to. There's your one. There's so many podcasts that we've got out there for people to listen to. But I like to have motivational podcasts that I listen to, audibles as well. Never Lose a Client Again is one of my favorite all-time audibles to listen to, by Zoe Coleman. Great book. But Shane Warne and the Virgin Story from Richard Branson's another one that I'm reading again. And John Howard. I love John Howard's book. It's amazing. It's thick. It's solid. He was a great leader for our country. A lot of people hated him, but that's politics. But even the opposition recognised him as a great leader.
Yeah, you can always take something out of any of those inspirational books or those biographies, how people got to the place that they got. There's always a lesson to learn, and I think that's what I love so much about personal development is you always take away a gold nugget or some lesson in it. Have you got a lesson that you've learned from one of those books that you can remember right now?
I do actually, and it was interesting. It's Never Lose a Client Again, and he was talking about It's a great journey. He had 15 minutes to pitch to a huge CEO for. He used to sell advertising, and he had 15 minutes to pitch for the business. For the first 10 minutes, they spoke about golf. They talked about golf because he had pictures of the golf course when he walked into the CEO. And basically, um, he ended up only having 5 minutes to pitch for the business. He thought that he'd missed it, so he had the presumption that he'd missed it because he only had the 5 minutes. He posted him a golf ball to say thank you for the meeting, a personal touch, right? He ended up getting the business over all of these huge marketing companies because he had this, and it was about, and the lesson behind it all is the personal touch, and it was the high value, low cost. No doubt all the other companies may have sent him a set of golf clubs or a 12-month subscription at a golf course, but he sent him a golf ball, low cost, high impact. So that there for me and that personal touch just confirmed a lot for myself in how I run the business.
And that definitely resonates in property management as well, or BDM as well. Adding that nice point of difference, I guess, is another way of looking at it. Now, thank you
Mm.
so much for joining me. How can our listeners connect with you and the Inspired Growth team?
So they can go to Inspired Growth Training on Facebook. Obviously, you're in our group as well. We've got an amazing network of people there. So if they just follow our Inspired Growth Training page, you can click on the little button that says Join Group. Just answer the questions. Let us know that so we can see you're a real estate agent, and join in on the network of amazing people that we've got in there. One thing that we tend to be talking about lately is that mental health and that support for real estate, which is really important for everyone. So, and anyone can just reach out to us through our website as well. But I think the social media aspect is really important for people to catch up.
It is. It is a brilliant community. Jump on there and join that. I can totally recommend it. And it's got a great overall view of a holistic view and conversations around property management. It's not just one thing. It's not just legislation. It's great, and there's great conversations in there as well. So totally can recommend that group. Thank you so much, Deniz, for joining me today. I'm sure we will be in contact again soon.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, Kylie. And good luck, everyone. And make sure that you do implement. That's the key. Implement. Don't just listen, but put some things in place.
Hey there, I know your time is valuable, so thank you for spending it here. Now, if you are someone who is serious about growing your property management business and you'd like to learn the systems that I've put in place inside my own business that consistently brings in 5 to 15 new management leads every single week without me having to do anything, then go to the show notes and click on the link to get on the waiting list for the Growth School, and you'll get notified when it launches. Until next time, my friend,